How much protein should you be getting when you are in menopause? I don't like to use the word should a lot, but I think this is a valid question. As we age, we might need more protein than you think. This came as a real surprise to me with a recent visit to my naturopath. So in this Back to Basics video, I want to break down some simple reasons why you may need more protein in midlife and give you some basic foods that you can put into your diet. I love to add in to up your protein intake. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Tanya, and I like to come onto the internet and talk about midlife health and wellness with a mindful perspective behind it. I love to talk about mindful eating, midlife health, and I need to make more videos about the crap that goes through my head as I age. So if we've not met before, hi, I'd love you to stick around, subscribe, and we can have these kind of conversations like the one about protein we're about to have. And of course, this is not for medical purposes. It is for information and education and conversation only. So please always talk to your licensed care provider if you think you have a health issue and if you want to do some drastic changes to your diet. There's a few big reasons why I'm focusing in on protein at this age and stage. I'm 57. So I do worry about blood sugar issues. I've been menopausal for over 8 years. So blood sugar can be a risk with this age. But I also worry about frailty, and I do worry about my loss of muscle mass, not just because I've been working from home since the pandemic started and I really have let my weight training slide, but because this just happens as a normal part of aging. We can lose over 30% of our muscle mass as we age, and that's quite a bit. So I want to preserve all of this, and one of the ways I'm going to do that is look at my protein intake. Now, I'm a woman that has struggled with protein most of her life, so this isn't easy for me. And yes, being in healthcare, I know that protein is important to build body tissues like gums, but like the rest of our body, protein is part of every cell, every organ. It makes up enzymes. It does a ton of things in the body. I know that, but I still struggle to eat protein, especially animal protein. Luckily, there's lots of sources of protein, whether you choose to eat animal products, plant products, or combine them, and they can give you all of the amino acids that you need to make the building blocks of protein in your body. So when I think of aging and I think of sarcopenia, this loss of muscle mass, I've also read some studies that link this muscle mass to physical performance as we age. And so I don't mean physical performance in the sense that I might run a marathon, although someday I might like to. And I do love to be active. I think of those activities of daily living as well. The reaching, the climbing, the bending, the gardening, the things that I might still want to be able to do on my own and live on my own, being able to do those things as I move into my 80s and maybe 90s. So that's how I think of my mobility and my muscle mass as well as I get older. I also know that protein assists our immune system, and it does help with healing our wounds, and it does make up collagen. That's a hot topic for aging women because we start to lose that elasticity in our face, in our skin. We look at the wrinkles, we look at the stuff happening under the neck, but we also have that process happening in our joints. And collagen can be supportive of our joints. How do we help our collagen and our joints? Protein, protein. Another reason why protein is so important is that it makes up enzymes in the body. I talked about enzymes in my last video, long video, outlining the digestive process. We need enzymes to digest food, but enzymes just aren't for food. They make all kinds of chemical reactions happen in the body, and we need protein for that. And this whole issue with protein in menopause is based on estradiol, our fertile reproductive estrogen that we have when we are in our reproductive years. This loss of estradiol as we move into menopause is believed to be one of the big contributing factors to the loss of our lean muscle mass. So we do have 3 estrogens, in case you didn't know. And this estradiol is helpful with muscle regeneration and bone growth, among cardiovascular health as well. What does this all mean for you and me, and how should we be eating? The general guidelines for protein intake is about 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. And you can calculate that with this equation right here. Basically, you take your weight in pounds and divide it by 2.2, which gives you your weight in kilograms. And then that weight in kilograms gets multiplied by 0.8, and that'll give you your average daily protein need. There are tons of protein calculators on the internet like this. You don't have to use this one. But this is going to give you your average need of protein through the day. Remember, this is just the minimum, and if you are more active or you have a health issue, you may need more, you may need less. So many women then ask, what is a good source of protein? And do I have to measure this all the time? First, as a mindful eating nutritionist, I don't measure things all the time. I do have some incidental measurements, like when I'm putting soup in my 1 cup super cube tray. You absolutely can. In fact, I have a document linked below. It's a free Google Doc. You just have to click on it and then come on back here to YouTube, where you can see some basic amounts of protein in certain measurements of food. It's definitely good information for some people to know how much protein they're getting in, say, 3/4 of a cup of plain yogurt. But here's some other thoughts on how you can build your plate with more protein. Think about adding protein, fat, fiber to every meal. This will help keep you satiated. It helps with your blood sugar, and it will help balance out your carbohydrate if you tend to like the more simple carbohydrates like pasta or bread. Part of being trained in mindful eating as a nutritionist is not telling you that carbs are bad. Everybody has different needs, tastes, and desires. You can also think about building your plate around 1/4 of it being protein, and you could put your veg and your carbs or whatever else you want to put on there for the rest of the plate. Sometimes having too much protein can increase constipation if you're not used to it. And we talked a little bit about that in the last video about digestion basics. And maybe you just want to grab my Google Doc so you can see some of the basic plant and animal foods and how much protein they contain. And that's all I have for you today on this Back to Basics video. I hope to see you again in the next one. And if you want to chat about the crap that you're going through in midlife, drop it below in a comment and I'd be happy to enter that discussion with you in another video. Until we meet again in the next video, you have the most fulfilling day ever.